Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's get into the story. Tuesday, February 4th, 11:22 p.m. I was sitting on the edge of our bed when she walked in. Still in her silk blouse from a client dinner I wasn't invited to. Heels in one hand, phone in the other. She was typing something to someone, smiling at the screen before she noticed me. I'd been waiting. Not for a fight. For her. I reached for her hand. Just her hand. The simplest gesture a husband can offer. She pulled back like I'd tried to grab something that wasn't mine. Brennan, I just spent 11 hours being the reason this company exists. I pitched. I smiled. I closed. You moved numbers on a screen. And now you're standing here in the dark asking me to, what? Be your wife on top of everything else. She dropped her heels by the closet. I'm tired. I'm tired of carrying this brand and coming home to a man who thinks he deserves a reward for doing the bookkeeping. She went to the bathroom, closed the door. I heard water running. I sat there, looking at the two heels she'd dropped, one upright, one fallen sideways. Reward for bookkeeping. 9 years of building a company from a laptop and a lease, of writing every contract, managing every budget, keeping 28 people employed, and to her, I was the guy who moved numbers on a screen. I walked to the kitchen, poured water, stood at the counter. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that used to feel like peace. Now it felt like a verdict. My name is Brennan Holt, 44, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm the co-founder of Holt & Holt Creative, a branding agency I built with my wife, Sloan. 28 employees. Revenue just north of 6 million. Real clients, real work, real reputation. I say co-founder because that's what the paperwork says. 50-50. Equal partners. Equal ownership. But here's what the paperwork doesn't say. I was the one who wrote the business plan at 2 a.m. on our kitchen table while Sloan slept. I was the one who got the SBA loan, negotiated the office lease on Music Row, hired our first 3 employees, and built the client pipeline from zero. Sloan was the face, and she was brilliant at it. I need you to understand that. In the early days, Sloan Holt could walk into a room and make every person in it feel like the most important human alive. She had this gift, charisma that felt effortless but wasn't. She worked at it, refined it, aimed it like a spotlight. Clients didn't just hire us. They hired her, and I made sure the machine behind her ran flawlessly. The contracts, the budgets, the timelines, the team, the cash flow. She was the show. I was the stage. For the first 5 years, that was enough. More than enough. We were a team. Sundays at Frothy Monkey on 12th South, laptops open, planning the next quarter. She'd reach across the table, squeeze my hand, and say, "We're building something big." I believed her, because it was true. We had Theo in 2017, born at Vanderbilt, 8 pounds even, eyes like Sloan's, dark brown, impossibly alert. From day one, that kid looked at you like he was running calculations. Sloan was a good mother. I want to say that clearly. She loved Theo. She was present for him in ways she'd already stopped being present for me. The problem wasn't her capacity, it was her allocation. She had enough energy for the brand, enough for Theo, enough for her friends, enough for her phone, and whatever was left over, which was usually nothing, that's what I got. Year 6. The shift. Holt & Holt landed the Maxwell Hotels rebrand. Biggest contract we'd ever signed. Sloan was electric. Magazine features, speaking panels, a Nashville Business Journal profile, the woman behind Nashville's hottest agency. They used her photo, just hers. I was mentioned in paragraph 11 as her husband and business partner. She framed the article, put it in the conference room. I didn't say anything. She earned the press. She was the face. That was the deal. But something changed after Maxwell. The we became I. I closed the deal. Not we. I presented to the board. Not we. My creative direction saved the account. Not ours. At home, the distance widened. She started working late. Client dinners, industry events, networking drinks that ran until midnight. I'd have Theo fed, bathed, storied, and asleep by the time she walked in. She'd pour wine, sit on the couch, scroll her phone, and when I'd sit next to her, "I'm just tired, Brennan." Night after night after night. If you've ever heard those 4 words repeated enough times, you know what they become. Not a statement. A wall. A policy. I'm not available. I'm not interested. I'm not here. Not for you. But she wasn't tired. Not universally. She was selectively tired. Tired of me. For everyone else, there was plenty in the tank. Wine nights with Margot and the girls. 2 hours of laughter I could hear from upstairs. Not tired. Morning Peloton at 5:30 a.m., sweat dripping, music blasting, metrics tracked. Not tired. Instagram, posting stories from client events, replying to comments, building her personal brand with a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Not tired. Phone, always the phone. Texting, smiling, typing with both thumbs at 11 p.m. Someone was always getting the version of Sloan that I used to know. I'd sit next to her. She wouldn't look up. Who are you texting? Work stuff. At 11. Clients don't sleep, Brennan. She said my name the way you'd address an employee who keeps asking unnecessary questions. Then she hired Kai. March of year 7. Kai Prescott. 27. Creative Director's Executive Assistant. She created the position herself, didn't run it by me, didn't run it by Declan, didn't put it through the hiring process every other employee went through. He just appeared. Monday morning. Desk outside her office. Bright smile, fitted shirt, eager. Brennan, this is Kai. He'll be supporting my creative workflow. I shook his hand. Nice kid. Too nice for what the role actually was. Within a month, Kai was doing everything. Her presentations, her creative briefs, her client emails, her mood boards. He sat in on her calls. He attended her lunches, alone with her, always alone with her. He had a company credit card she'd authorized without my signature or Declan's. Stay with me here, because I didn't see the full picture at first. I was running the business, all 28 of us, payroll, contracts, renewals, pipeline. I didn't have time to track her assistant's expense reports. That was my mistake. But Declan saw it. Declan Marsh, our CFO, been with us since year 2. Quiet, precise, loyal, the kind of man who notices when numbers change by a single digit. He knocked on my office door on a Thursday afternoon and sat down with a folder. I need to show you something. Kai's corporate card charges. 3 months, $47,000. Restaurants, not client restaurants, not in any budget. Hotels, client meetings with no corresponding invoices. Clothing stores, a $2,200 charge at a boutique on West End that had nothing to do with work. She approved all of these? She's the only one who could have. I closed the folder. Looked out the window at Music Row, tourists with guitars, songwriters heading to sessions, Nashville doing what Nashville does. I sat there for a long time. What else? Declan pulled up a second report. Sloan's division, the accounts she managed personally. For clients lost in 8 months. $880,000 in revenue. Client satisfaction scores down 34%. Not a single original creative brief produced by her in 14 months. Every pitch, every deck, every concept came from Kai. She wasn't working. She was performing work. And Kai was doing the actual job while she took the credit and spent company money on lunches that had nothing to do with clients. One more thing, Declan said. He hesitated. Declan never hesitates. I got a call yesterday. From Lauren Whitfield. Nathan Whitfield's wife. Nathan Whitfield, CEO of Whitfield Hotels. One of our biggest accounts. What did she say? She asked if I was aware that Sloan had been sending her husband some inappropriate images. Since the holiday mixer. The air in the room changed. Everything looked the same, but nothing was the same. Same office. Same desk. Same Nashville outside the window. Different life. How inappropriate. The kind a married woman doesn't send to a client's husband. I know a lot of you have been through something like this. I read your comments. Your stories hit just as hard as mine. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. This community gets it. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't confront her for 3 weeks. Here's why. If I'd walked in and said, I know about the photos, she'd have done what she always does. Cry. Deny. Redirect. It was nothing. You're overreacting. Lauren is jealous. She'd have been so convincing that I'd spend the next month doubting what I knew. I almost did confront her. That first night, I lay in bed next to her. She was already asleep, face lit by the phone on the nightstand, screen down as always, and I rehearsed the conversation a dozen times. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe Lauren misunderstood. Maybe it's not what I think. Then Thursday happened. She came home at 10:45, kissed my cheek. Long day. Same smile. Same voice. Like nothing had changed. And I realized nothing had changed. For her. Whatever she was doing, She'd been doing it long enough that it was routine. So instead of confronting, I watched. Quietly. Like reading a spreadsheet. The numbers don't lie if you let them accumulate. She came home at 10:30. I'm just tired. She came home at 11:15. Long day. She came home at midnight. Wine on her breath. Phone face down on the nightstand. I'm exhausted, Brennan. Not tonight. And every night, after she fell asleep, I'd sit in Theo's room. Watch him breathe. Rocket nightlight casting shadows on the ceiling. Think about what kind of man I wanted him to see when he looked at his father. That question, that one question, is what carried me through everything that came next. Nina's investigator confirmed it. Not just Nathan Whitfield. For other men. An architect from a Design Week panel. A music producer from a charity gala. A marketing director from Atlanta. A former business partner who'd moved to Chicago. She wasn't having affairs. Not in the traditional sense. She was collecting confirmation. Every photo she sent, every suggestive message, every "you're incredible" she received back, it was a fix. A microdose of being desired. Being seen. Being wanted. And the whole time, the man who actually wanted her, who sat in the same house, who built the same company, who raised the same son, was told he was asking for too much. That wanting to hold his wife was a reward for bookkeeping. She saved her warmth for strangers. And gave me the policy. I'm tired. Not tonight. I called Nina Castellanos the following Monday. Family law attorney. Office off West End, above a bakery that smelled like cinnamon and bread. She specialized in marriages that were also business partnerships. When I told her the situation, co-founders, 50-50 split, 14 months of documented non-performance, unauthorized spending, and the photos, she leaned back in her chair. You're not just divorcing your wife, Brennan. You're restructuring your company. I know. Do you want to save the marriage or the business? I can only save one. And 28 people depend on the business. She nodded. Then we build the case first. Quietly. April through June. The quiet gathering. Declan documented everything. Every missed deadline. Every Kai charge. Every client exit and why. He built a timeline. 14 months of Sloan Holt's contribution to the company she co-founded. Functionally zero. I didn't stop being her husband during those months. I still made dinner. Still helped Theo with homework. Still asked her about her day. Even though the answer was always the same deflection. I wasn't building a trap. I was building a file. Because when a woman tells you she's tired every single night while sending photos to 5 different men during the day, you don't trust words anymore. You trust documents. One night in May, a Tuesday, I came home with Thai food from her favorite place on Demonbrun. Set it up on the counter. Lit the candle we used to light on date nights. She walked in at 10:15, saw the food, and looked at me like I'd rearranged the furniture without asking. What's this? Dinner. Together. She glanced at her phone. I already ate. Client thing. She opened the fridge. Poured wine. Took it to the couch. I'm wiped, Brennan. I ate alone. At the counter. With a candle burning for no one. The Thai food was good. The silence wasn't. May 15th. Thursday evening. I was at my desk when Sloan walked past with Kai. Heading to lunch. Client meeting. No client named. She didn't stop to say hello. Didn't look in. Just walked past my open door like it was a wall. Kai glanced at me. Quick look. Almost apologetic. Like he knew he was occupying space that wasn't his. That night I sat in my truck in our driveway. Engine off. Hands on the steering wheel. Our house glowed behind the glass. Warm light. Beautiful kitchen. The life I'd built from nothing. Inside, somewhere, Sloan was on her phone sending energy to someone who didn't earn it. I thought about 9 years. The kitchen table. The first client. The first hire. Frothy monkey. Her hand reaching across the table. We're building something, B. My eyes stung. I squeezed the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Not because I was angry, because I was grieving a marriage that was still technically alive. June 22nd. Sunday morning. I was in the kitchen making coffee. Phone buzzed, a message from Nina about the timeline. Something in it made me smile. Just a small lift at the corner of my mouth. The first one in months. Sloan walked in. Stopped. Stared at me. Why are you smiling at your phone? I looked up. Calm. Someone said something nice to me. It's been a while. She stood there. Processing. Her eyes went to my phone, then to my face, then back to my phone. I watched the calculation happen in real time. The same woman who sent provocative photos to 5 different men and told her husband she's too tired was now terrified that someone might be making him feel wanted. Who? Does it matter? It matters to me. Since when? She didn't answer. She poured coffee. Her hands were shaking, not from caffeine, from the realization that the system she'd engineered, where I waited and she chose, might be breaking. She checked my phone that night while I was in the shower. I know because I'd left it on the counter face up, a test. When I came out, it was face down, moved exactly 2 inches. She'd found nothing, because there was nothing to find. The smile had been about a legal clause, but she didn't know that, and not knowing was eating her alive. Tuesday, June 24th. The office. I called a partners meeting. Just me, Sloan, and Declan. Conference room. Door closed. I'm filing for divorce, I said, and I want to buy your share of the company. Her face went through 4 stages in 10 seconds. Shock, confusion, anger, then performance. You can't be serious. Here's the offer. I slid the folder across the table. Nina had prepared everything. The valuation was based on contribution, not paper ownership. 30 cents on the dollar. 30%. This is my company. My name is on the door. Your name is on the door. Your work hasn't been inside it for 14 months. That's Declan. Declan opened his folder. The timeline. The client losses. The Kai charges. The satisfaction scores. Every number she'd ignored because numbers were bookkeeping. My bookkeeping was now the evidence that ended her partnership. She looked at the pages. Page after page. Her face changed, slowly, like a building losing power floor by floor. This is accurate, Declan said quietly. I can source every line. You went behind my back. You hired an assistant behind mine, I said. Gave him a company card without authorization. Lost for clients. Produced 0 original work. Billed $47,000 in expenses with no business justification. That's not going behind your back. That's an audit. She turned to me, tears forming. Brennan, this is our company. We built this together. We did. And then you stopped building and started performing. I have 14 months of documentation. You want to take this to court? Discovery opens everything. The finances. The expenses. The photos. She went still. What photos? The ones Lauren Whitfield called Declan about. And the others. The silence in that room had weight. Declan stared at the table. Sloan stared at me. I stared at her and felt nothing. Not anger, not triumph. Just the clean, heavy truth finally spoken aloud. You said being my wife was too much work on top of everything else, I said. I'm removing the workload. She stood up, walked to the window, looked out at Music Row. Her reflection in the glass was smaller than the woman who'd walked in. What happened next? I'm still processing. And if you're still here, you already know this channel tells real stories. Subscribe and hit the bell so the next one finds you. She tried everything after that. The cycle, exactly like it always goes. Sweetness asterisk, she showed up at my office the next morning with coffee from Frothy Monkey. Our place, our beginning. I was wrong, B. I know that. Can we just talk? Like we used to. She used the old nickname. The one from the kitchen table. I was polite. I didn't take the coffee. Rage asterisk 2 days later. You're punishing me. For what? For being good at my job? For having a career? You want a wife who sits at home and waits for you. I said, I want a wife who doesn't send photos to other men while telling me she's too tired to hold my hand. She went white. The advocate asterisk Margot, her best friend, showed up at the office the following week. Brennan, she's falling apart. You need to think about Theo. You need to think about the family. Margot, did Sloan tell you about the photos? Margot blinked. What photos? Ask her. Margot left. She never came back to advocate for Sloan. That told me everything I needed to know about how much of the truth Sloan had been sharing with anyone. Tears asterisk real ones. Our living room. Theo at her mother's house. I don't know why I sent them. I was lonely. I felt invisible. Like the only time anyone saw me was when I was performing. And the photos, they made me feel like someone wanted me. Not the brand. Me. I listened. Then, you felt invisible. In our agency, where your name was on the door. In the magazine, where your face was the photo. At the client dinners, where everyone flew in to meet you. You felt invisible. And the one person who saw you every single day, who made your coffee, who ran your company, who raised your son, he was the one you couldn't see. She covered her face. I was tired, Brennan. You weren't tired. You were bored. And boredom isn't the same as exhaustion. You just dressed it the same. Weaponized Theo asterisk. He needs his father at home. Under the same roof. You're going to damage him. He has his father. Every day? And he needs a father who doesn't accept being told his life's work is bookkeeping by the woman who stopped working 14 months ago. The slip asterisk 1 week into her sweetness phase. Late evening. I was leaving the office. Past the conference room. The door was cracked. She'd been using the office to make calls, which Nina had anticipated. But she wasn't talking to her lawyer. She was talking to Margot. He won't go through with it. He needs me. It's Holt & Holt. Without me, there's no brand. No one hires a branding agency called just Holt. He's bluffing. He needs me. He's bluffing. She thought her name was her insurance policy. That 4 letters on a glass door protected her from 14 months of documented zero. That being the face meant she was the foundation. She'd never considered the difference. Faces can be replaced. Foundations can't. July 14th. Monday, for 17 p.m. She signed. Nina's offer. 30 cents on the dollar. Sloan's lawyer told her to fight it, but fighting meant discovery. The photos, the spending, the audit, Kai's charges, all of it entered into public record. Permanent. Searchable. Career-ending for a woman whose entire value was her professional image. She signed in Nina's office. I wasn't there. I asked Nina to handle it. I didn't want to watch. That afternoon, I went to the house. Theo was at his desk drawing, always drawing. 9 years old, methodical, focused. Dad, yeah, buddy. Mom says you're changing the company name. I am. What's it going to be? Holt Creative. He thought about it. Just one Holt. Just one. He nodded. Went back to his drawing. Then, without looking up, Mom told Aunt Margot on the phone that you'd be nothing without her. But you built the whole thing, Dad. I saw you. On the kitchen table. At night. With your laptop. He looked at me. She was already asleep. 9 years old. He'd seen the kitchen table. He'd seen the 2 a.m. sessions. He'd seen the man behind the brand. I put my hand on his shoulder. Didn't trust my voice. September. Holt Creative. The sign went up on a Tuesday morning. Same office. Same team. -1. I let Kai go the same day Sloan signed. He looked relieved. Honestly. Like he'd been carrying something he never signed up for. Declan restructured the accounts. We brought in a new creative director, Priya Kaur, from an agency in Atlanta. Talented, direct, zero performance. Within 2 months, we won back one of the 4 clients Sloan had lost. By October, revenue was higher than it had been in 18 months. I found an apartment in Germantown. 2 bedrooms. Theo's room has a window that catches the morning light. His walls are covered in sketches, buildings, mostly. He wants to be an architect. I told him, the world needs people who build things that last. The first night in that apartment, I made coffee and sat by the window. It was quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Empty quiet. The kind of silence that reminds you something used to be there. I drank the whole cup without tasting it. Looked at the kitchen table, smaller than the old one, but clean. Ready. November. Saturday afternoon. Whole Foods on Broadway. I was in the produce section with Theo. He has a system for picking apples, inspects each one like a quality auditor. I looked up and saw her. Sloan. Cart with wine and yogurt. Hair different, shorter, pulled back. No makeup. Wearing a sweater I'd never seen before. She saw me. Froze. Then walked over. Hi. Hi. Theo waved. Hi, Mom. She smiled at him. Then looked at me. The new sign looks good. I drove past last week. Thank you. Priya's work is strong. I saw the Maxwell refresh. She's talented. Silence. Not angry. Not cold. Just the distance between 2 people who used to share everything and now share one child and a few careful words. I'm seeing someone, she said quietly. A therapist, I mean. Not someone. That's good, Sloan. She asked me when I stopped seeing you. Not stopped being married, stopped seeing you. I didn't have an answer. I looked at her. It was after Maxwell. Paragraph 11. She winced. She remembered. I'm sorry, Brennan. I know. Not for the company. Not for the money. For the bookkeeping line. That night. I replay it. I knew what I was saying, and I said it anyway. I know that too. She nodded. Touched Theo's hair. Walked away. Theo watched her go, then went back to his apples. Selected one. Held it up. This one's perfect. Let's take it. 9 years. That's how long I built a company, a marriage, and a life, sitting at a kitchen table while the house slept. Moving numbers on a screen. Doing the bookkeeping. She called it bookkeeping like it was nothing. Like the man who kept every contract clean, every employee paid, every client retained. Like that man was background noise for the woman on stage. But here's what I learned. The stage goes dark without someone running the lights. The brand means nothing without someone keeping the books. And a company called Holt & Holt doesn't need two Holts. It needs one who actually shows up. I didn't leave because I stopped loving Sloan. I left because love without respect is just proximity. And I was tired of being proximate to someone who measured my worth by what I did for her spotlight. She wasn't evil. She was lost. Somewhere between the magazine cover and the midnight photos, she forgot what real attention looks like. She went looking for it from strangers, and the man who'd been giving it freely for 9 years became invisible. Last week, Theo showed me a drawing. Our new apartment. 2 stick figures on the porch, one tall, one short. Underneath, in his careful 9-year-old handwriting, Dad's office. Where real work happens. I put it on the fridge. Right next to the others. Right next to every drawing he's ever made of a world where people show up and stay. Some people build stages. Some people perform on them. And some people sit at kitchen tables at 2 a.m., building something real while the rest of the house sleeps. I was always the second kind. I just needed to stop apologizing for it. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.